Looks like we've got Alex Page in Northeast Texas. With
Oh, awesome.
RPS 800 for over a year he's had.
Oh, nice. I thought we'd probably have some excitement from existing customers. We reached out to a lot of you and had a bunch of people to join up. So welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for being a customer. That's awesome to hear. For the last year, you've been able to pump water without utility power, without gas generators, all with the power of the sun.
We got Tim Guernsey Kingsman, Arizona solar installer.
Wow, we got an installer with us. That's great to hear too. You'll see these are super easy systems to install. They are DIY, but we also have a bunch of installers across the United States. And so if you are an installer joining us today, welcome. Check out what we have, get in contact, and we can get you in touch with our dealer program.
We got Joe Gallagher. He has a 5-horsepower submersible pump recently installed. Joe Gallagher from Villanova University.
Welcome, Joe. I wonder if that 5 horsepower is, say, a 3-phase model. That'd be something that we have conversion packages where we can add on the controller and the solar panels and convert that well over to solar. If you already have a solar pump, that's also great to hear.
Yep, Joe Gallagher. It's a single-phase 240 volts.
Great, single phase 240. That's a little bit more challenging at the 5 horsepower level. If it was a single phase half horse through 3 horsepower, we do have conversion kits for you. But we do have options where we can use a high power inverter to run that pump directly. That does require some batteries, some extra solar panels, but the benefit of that is it's plug and play, and you're gonna get water day and night, especially if you're using that for a pressurized system.
All right, we got Tamara Moore from Seattle, Washington. First time user to install a 7-foot pond waterfall feature.
Oh, nice. Welcome, Cameron. That's a popular line that's coming up. We have really focused in the last year on the pond market, trying to get solar options there. There weren't a lot before RPS came along, so we've released aerators. Those are like big tank bubblers that go in the bottom of your pond or lake and help provide aeration. They also help distribute the thermoclines, get that colder water up to the top. Great for fish. If you want something more aesthetic, then we have our fountain series where we can do a solar powered fountain all day. That beautiful fountain's running out in the middle of your pond or lake. It makes a very nice scenic experience when you're out there enjoying time on it.
All right. So it looks like we have about 43 people in here.
Oh, awesome. That's great to hear.
Wonderful.
So as part of this intro, what you're hearing is there are a ton of applications for these solar pumps, and we want to spread that solar pumping word across the United States with these virtual field days. Today, we will be focused on what's our RPS 400, and that is a 3-inch submersible pump. It's one of our most popular models, and that's used a majority of the times with ranchers and farmers out in the middle of the fields. But it's also used on a variety of other applications. Those include pressurized systems for households, includes pumping into stock tank storage tanks. We do have some people pumping out of ponds into drip irrigation or other lines. So a super versatile system, but don't think it's just limited to this. As you heard during those shout outs, we have larger pumps, our pro systems that go anywhere from a half horsepower all the way up to 20, 50. We can even do 100 horsepower. We haven't done that yet. I think our biggest is a 25, but we're looking for somebody who wants to step that up and do a 50 or 100 horsepower system. But before we jump into all that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the purpose today. So the purpose of these virtual field days, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but for the new people here, is to give you as close as we can to a hands-on experience of these solar pump systems. It's new for a lot of people. So what we're going to do is an unboxing of the RPS 400. We're going to talk about some of the tools needed. We're going to talk about the features of the system. And throughout that whole process, we're going to be doing a question and answer. So if you do have a question, there's a Q&A box there in the webinar, I guess up above. And so type your question in there. That's going to do 2 things. One is we're going to try to hit some of those questions real time as I'm going through all this information. It's going to come fast. There's going to be a lot of details here, but don't worry, that's going to all be available on YouTube later. And so you can go watch that video. But with that question and answer, it's also going to tie to your email or phone number. And so we'll shoot you an email either this afternoon or early next week to make sure you got the proper answer to the question. And if you have any others, We'll make sure to answer all of those questions by our team of pump sizers who are super experienced in solar pumps. That's basically all they do. So they know all the details, all the different aspects of how these systems can be applied to help you out, whether you're on your ranch, your homestead, your farm, or in off-grid situation. So the other part of this is just education. Part of those questions is we want to educate you, the customer. A majority of these are DIY systems, do it yourself. And so the first step we always take with every customer is we like to educate them about the products, about the application, how solar works, and how that's going to be applied to their specific use case. And so we're going to knock a little bit of that today. If we don't get into everything, those questions will allow us to follow up and answer them all.
I got a good comment from David Rice in Western Illinois. Said he's thinking of going solar, hasn't drilled yet, but he knows the well's going to be 500 feet deep. Is that something that our products can handle?
Oh, absolutely. 500 feet deep. Most of our systems are, say, 250 feet and less. That's most common across the United States, but there are places where it's 500 feet. I've even seen 1,000+ feet. And so those will get more into our pro systems. We won't cover those in detail today, but we do have on YouTube a bunch of resources for the pro systems. We have a complete installation video, we have unboxing videos and overview videos. So with our pro system, we're able to go to around 1,200 feet of pumping head, depending on the exact size of the system. So yes, those deep sets, the 500, 600, 700 feet, we definitely have systems for them. Those can get a little challenging as a DIY project, but if you have the right tools and equipment, it's not too bad. We've had the Park Service out here in California install one down to, I think it was 550 feet about last year. So great. I think we'll jump into this. Like I mentioned, this is Mike with RPS Solar Pumps. We're out here in Northern California, out in the agricultural country where we're headquarters. We got the tomato fields are coming in. They're growing really nicely. We start the harvest in a couple of months here. We got the corn fields coming in. Those are being harvested pretty quick. So we're located right in it with our customers, with the applications here at our headquarters. Great. Any other questions before we jump on in?
One question, another one from David. Can you send me the link to those YouTube videos? Yes, we'll be following up with the link to this presentation on YouTube next week. So keep an eye out for that.
Absolutely. So everybody who joined, we'll probably send you a quick little email saying, here's the link to, that's a great one, the YouTube videos, the website, all of those. If you're a little antsy and want something to look at, you can go into YouTube, just type RPS Solar Pumps in the search, we'll pop up. We have hundreds of videos. So get used to hearing from me.
Yeah, and if you want a personalized answer to your question in an email, please use the Q&A box.
Yep, absolutely. That Q&A box will tie your question to your email. So in case we don't get to it during this virtual field day, our pump sizing specialists are ready to follow up and answer all those questions. So let's jump in. Today, like I said, we're focused on the RPS400. I'll explain what that means, but that is a submersible pump. The box is located over here. It comes with the box. It comes with the pump, the controller, the accessories. That comes with 4 100-watt solar panels. We'll check out in 1 second. That provides plenty of power to do what we need with this pump. Customers use this in wells, livestock, watering, into storage tanks, into pressure tanks. Sometimes they'll put this pump into a storage tank like this to provide pressure, or they'll also put in a storage tank to pump up a large hill that it couldn't do by itself. So a super versatile pump. I kind of like to think of it as a building block in some cases where we can take this pump, build upon it, and create a larger system or a larger network where we want to do multiple livestock troughs, multiple tanks, all that good stuff. The other thing before we jump in and see the hardware is this pump in particular does have battery backup. So almost all of our systems are what are called direct drive. And so that means we take the power from the sun as it's shining on those panels, it goes into the controller, and then without batteries, we take that power and send it down to the pump. And what we do is we change the speed of the pump depending on how much power is available. So what happens there is at night, obviously, we're not pumping any water. And in the morning, usually pretty early in the summertime, maybe around like 8:30, 9 o'clock, we start to ramp up the speed of the motor and get water at the surface. Then we reach peak pumping. In summer, we tend to get around 8 to 10 hours of peak pumping. In winter, due to the sun times, it's a little bit lower, probably more like 6 hours. And so that's why we size all of our systems at 6 hours of pumping because we want that worst case winter. So we're pumping throughout the day, and then into the afternoon, evening, we'll start to see water production taper off as that sun sets. And then at night, the system shuts down and just waits until morning to start pumping again. So that is what a direct drive system is. But some of our systems have the capability of having battery backup support. This is one of those. So if we want to add a couple of batteries there, we're able to basically save that pumping time that we would have used during the day and store that either for evening or nighttime pumping, even pumping on cloudy days or overcast days. It doesn't quite produce overall more power, but it stores that pumping capacity for a later time. And so if you have a battery system, those are most commonly used in pressurized systems or times that we have to pump at night. That's a great option to add that in. But before we get in here, let's jump in and start looking at this pump, and I'll explain some of the features here in specs of this system. Putting this guy up. This is how it's going to ship right to your door. And so what we do is you can order from us. It's going to ship right out. It's going to arrive either by UPS or by freight right to your door in a couple of days. And depending on what kit you get, you're going to have everything needed to install that system that upcoming weekend. So we'll jump in here. First, I'm going to pull out the pump. There's a lot of items in here, a lot of accessories, a lot of things to make your installation easier. But what everybody likes to see first is definitely the 304 stainless steel pump. Pretty heavy here. Bring this out in front. What we're doing with this pump is the latest technology available. First of all, you'll see it's nice and shiny. 304 stainless steel for all of the exterior components. Anything that touches water is going to be that 304 for extended lifetime of this pump in harsh conditions. If you have a clean water well, it's going to be running for years and years and years, but it's built to stand up to those wells. If you got a little iron oxide out in a pond, wells can be harsh conditions, and so we want to use a material that's going to last for a long time. Down here in the motor, you can't see this, but this is a brushless DC motor with permanent magnets. And so that is the most efficient motor available today. And that is why we use it with solar, because we want to maximize for every watt of solar coming in, we want to maximize the amount of water production we have coming out of your well to create the most efficient system. You can see some other features. We got the strainer here. Most of the time this isn't needed in a well, but when you're using it in an older well where you might have like iron iron rust from the casing, silt, sediment, all of that, that's going to help filter it out. When people use it in ponds, this will help with it. They usually put extra screens over it. On the top here, we have our 3/4 inch female NPT outlet. Most of the time, you'll see in here, we have a barb that's going to go to our drop pipe, which we always recommend poly pipe. But if you are going to say like a rigid PVC pipe, then you're going to be able to go here and adapt, whether you're using 3/4 inch drop pipe all the way up to 1.25 inch drop pipe. You can adapt as needed. You'll notice if you look down in there, if you're familiar with pumps, there is no check valve. We can add an external check valve if desired. But otherwise, we kind of like these systems without the check valve, because that allows all the water to drain back out of the drop pipe, especially in cases we're going to say a storage tank or a stock tank, and that helps with freeze protection. So at night when the pump stops pumping, all that water drains back down. We don't have to worry about the water at night freezing in our line and cracking our pipe there. We got our drop wire here. These pumps come with around 6 feet of wire on them, along with our splice connectors on the end. This is a 3-wire pump because this is a 3-phase pump motor. It has 3 different windings. And so here we have the crimps at the top, the 3 different windings going down to our motor. Great. This is, we call this a 210 watt motor. It doesn't mean a ton for our solar pumps. That's the average power that it would consume, but it can consume higher. It consumes up to around 400 watts and then down to around 100 watts. And this system comes with either 2 or 4 panels. The RPS 200, same pump, same controller, just different number of panels. And then the RPS 400 comes with 4 solar panels. For 400 watt totals. We do have another pump very similar to this one, which is called our H500, and that is either 6 panels for 600 watts or 8 panels for 800 watt total. So a little bit of the specs on this pump. At low pumping head, that's anywhere, say less than 50 feet, this thing's gonna be producing around 7.6 gallons per minute. So anywhere from like 7 to 8 gallons a minute. But the magic of that number, it might sound low if you're used to, say, I produce 20, 50 gallons a minute. The magic of that is we're pumping that full solar day. And so for over 6 hours, we're gonna be pumping around 2,700 gallons per day, which is quite a bit of water. That's gonna do a lot of livestock pairs. For your household, that's quite a bit of water to run a household. So usually that's plenty of water what somebody needs. When you start to get into the higher pumping heads, this one, not as total upper limit, but kind of where we're getting there, is 225 feet of pumping head. So that's from the surface of the water, wherever that is in your well, up to wherever you're pumping the water, whether that's an elevated tank, whether you're using some of that to drive a pressurized system. And at that pumping head, we're looking at 3 gallons a minute. Again, that might sound a little bit low, but when you look at gallons per day, that's still 1,000 gallons per day. So you're out in the middle of the field, pumping up 225 feet, you still get 1,000 plus gallons a day, and that's winter numbers. In summer, we're expecting anywhere from 20 to 50% more on top of that. I'll take a quick second here. Any questions before jump on to other parts?
Yeah, good question from Jeffrey. Will this fit in a 4-inch casing?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. And so this is actually, we call it a 3-inch pump, but it's actually a 2.9-inch pump. And so this will fit in a 3-inch casing. So it has plenty of room in a 4-inch casing, but even better than that, if you have kind of a smaller casing, maybe an older one, a really large sand point, in a 3-inch size, this will fit within it. Great. Throw any other questions about the pump in here. I'm going to move on to another exciting portion, and that is the controller. I like to call it the brains of the system. We'll talk about what that means in just a second once I get this guy open. So as kind of the heart or the brain of the system, this is taking a bunch of different inputs, and it's taking the solar power and converting that to the right way to drive this brushless 3-phase motor. Since this is a brushless 3-phase motor, it does require a controller. Older models or older versions of this pump were brush motors. Those didn't require the controller, but they did have the brushes inside that would wear out over the time. So over like 2 to 3 years, if you're using it quite a bit, those carbon brushes would degrade. And after that, usually it was a throwaway pump. Sometimes you could send it back to the factory, they'd refurbish it. But we just didn't think that's a great system. So we've never used brush motors here at RPS. We've always used the highest tech brushless DC motors. So get in here, check out this controller. There you can see on the front, we have all our status lights over here on the side: power, pump, MPPT, air, low power, tank full, well low. I'll try to hit on some of those as I go through it, but those give you an external indication of what's going on with your system. And get in here. Oh, man. Right. Whoever put this one together, they ate their Wheaties this morning. I think we got a little bit too tight. We'll see if we can get that open. But otherwise, we have an extra one over here. We'll jump down and check that one out so we can go over some of those features of the components of the controller real quick here. As you get this open, you will see a little bit of what's going on in the side of this controller here. And you see, it looks complex. There's a lot going on. Most of the time, you don't have to worry about anything up over here. We're just going to look at what's on this side and down here on the strip. Are we getting that pretty good? Good enough?
Yeah, we got the strip in there.
Great. So some of the features I'll go over on here really quick is Our pump cables are connected here. That's a 3-wire. I'll show you how we splice those up later. These two are very interesting. This is a tank full and well low sensor input. So the tank full, that's going to allow us to put a little sensor, a little stainless steel sensor, I'll show you in one sec, up in the top of our tank. And so that does tank overflow detection. So if that sensor gets submerged in the pump and it's or something comes over, starts to use some water, the water level is going to drop slightly. The control back on in order to fill it up. We got a quick question here.
We got a question from Jason. This is a good one. Is that directly mounted to the well casing, and is that normal?
I would say it's not normal to mount it directly to the well casing. Yes, for our demo system here, it is mounted to our well casing. It just worked better with the flow over here. The most common way using this strap and worm gear on the back is to mount it underneath the solar panel somewhere. This is a waterproof or water resistant outdoor rated enclosure. It's got gaskets all the way around. It has these grommets at the bottom that seal up. So this can be outside in the sun, doesn't matter. But most of our customers put it in the shade underneath the solar panels on usually their steel mounting pipe if you're doing a windmill, or they just put a post in the ground underneath to mount this controller. For the demo here, just so it all flows, kind of funny, but we put it on the well casing here. Back to also that we talked about the tank full, the well low input. This is a great addition to the solar pumping system here. And so what this is a sensor. I'll show you over there, maybe get a quick view. This is a sensor that goes above our pump here, right here. It's the exact same as the tank full sensor. They're interchangeable. There is no difference between them. This goes above our pump. So as we're pumping down, if we have a low producing well, if the water level drops below this level, then it's going to shut the pump off in order to prevent the pump from running dry. And so this is our run dry protection. And a lot of the times, if you have a high producing well, you won't ever even have to think about this. But in the cases you have a lower producing and you're out pumping your well, then it's going to protect the pump, shut off. There is this delay dial inside. So that plays with the low well sensor. So if we look at down here at the bottom, it says timer. That is the low well shutdown timer. So the way that operates is if the water drops below that low well sensor, the pump is going to shut off for that amount of time. Usually we set that to 30, but if you want to go lower or you want to disable it, then you can set that down to 0. And so it shuts down, it waits that amount of time. Once 30 minutes is done and it allows the well to refresh even more, then it'll pump that well down again. The only other one down below is if you know you have a low producing well, the other option there is we can use our speed dial. So the speed dial is more about like percentage. It's not gallons per minute. Sometimes that causes a little confusion, but it's anywhere from 0 to 10, which is 10 would be 100% speed. So normally you just run this system at 100% speed, but if you have a low producing well, while you're operating, you can just turn this down slowly, reduce your gallons per minute to match the refresh rate of your well. A super handy feature if you just don't want full flow and you want to reduce that down a bit. Great, other one, we have solar input over here. We have battery input here. We have our power switch down at the bottom. That operates the different modes. Today, we're doing everything in solar mode. Awesome. Let's go, let's jump back at the table. We'll continue the unboxing, check out all these other items, and then get into the installation. Great one to look at next, just quickly, is our sensor here. Again, 304 stainless steel. This is either a tank full or a well low sensor. They're interchangeable, the exact same. They come with 100 feet of wire on the end here. That's great for a lot of applications. If you're slightly longer, you have two options there. One is if you get our Turnkey kit. Over here in this bundle, this big blue, funny looking bundle is our Turnkey kit. The Turnkey kit for these systems comes with everything you're going to need to install this system all the way up to the outlet at the wellhead. There's only 3 things you have to get because those are available locally and they're just too big to ship. A concrete, we don't want to have to be shipping concrete across the United States. The mounting pipe, those are big and long. You're going to need the mounting pipe for the solar array. And then if you're installing a ground rod, you need to head down to your local hardware store, pick up a ground rod if you're going to be installing that. Otherwise, this turnkey kit, along with the RPS400 system, comes with everything you need to install the pump, the controller, the solar panels. In here, you'll see is the poly pipe, the wire, the solar panel mounting. And I'll show you all that real quick here in a second. But if you get the turnkey kit, say in 200 or 300 foot lengths, it's going to come with a longer low well sensor to account for that extra depth. So these do also come 100 foot here, 200 feet, 300 feet. If you're getting the turnkey kit, that comes automatically. If you just need one of these, let us know when you're purchasing your kit. We can upgrade it and add on the larger or the longer sensor. And we got another one in here. 2 of these sensors, well low, tank full. We always encourage installing the well low sensor, tank full. Some of the customers don't install it. That's fine. They let their tank or anything else overflow. A lot of the times they let it overflow into, say, a pond or just a little pool for the livestock to drink out of. Great. Really quick. I don't want to run out of time, but here we have what's called a helical pump. And now we have 2 different types of pumps in the pumping world. We have a helical pump, which is a positive displacement pump, and we have a centrifugal style pump. The helical pump uses this pumping mechanism, and kind of like a worm gear, it positively displaces the water as it twists up and out of the well. It's a physical motion, a physical thing going on, squeezing that water up and out. A centrifugal pump, which I don't have right here, is more like a fan. And so the fan, we have spinning blades, which instead of squeezing the water, accelerate the water up and out. So those pumps you usually see are pretty long here. They have a bunch of stages inside, a bunch of those impellers, and each stage is spinning that water up and out and increasing the pumping pressure in order to get it up and out of the well. One of the great things about these helical pumps, not as common in the AC world, very common here in our solar pumping world, is that they don't require a lot of electricity in order to pump this water up and out of the well. So you see, this is the pumping mechanism here, and that's going to do at this pump around 225 feet of pumping head, just this mechanism. And on the other pump, it can do around 300, 350 feet of pumping head, just as this little guy spinning at anywhere from 2 up to 8 gallons a minute. And so this is ultra efficient. For every watt, a helical pump is going to give us the most amount of water out. When we get to larger systems, we are going to be switching over, or higher volume systems, we are going to be switching over to the centrifugal style pump. This one's good to about 8 gallons a minute. When we get to centrifugal style, it's going to be anywhere from 5 up to 1,000 gallons a minute. We just can't do that with the helical. One thing to note, this was recently this year upgraded. This is now chrome plated. So we're always looking at RPS here to improve our products over time based on customer feedback. So one of the downsides of a helical pump, they have all these awesome benefits, but one of the only downsides is this pumping mechanism can wear out over time, especially if you have large amounts of sand or silt in your well, it can wear out quicker. But what we found through years and years of testing is we now chrome plate this pumping mechanism here on the rotor. And so that provides an extended lifetime because we have that ultra hard surface that doesn't wear down as quickly with that sand and silt. But the good news is, even if it does wear down over time, this is your backup pumping mechanism that comes in every single helical pumping kit. And so you have one in the pump and you already have a backup on hand. And so after years of usage, if you have a sandy or silty well, you're going to see that water production start to decline over time. But no problem there because you have this backup here. So say 5+ years down the line, you want to, you start to see that decline and you want to swap it out. It takes about 5-10 minutes once you pull the pump out to replace this pumping mechanism. You get that back down the well, and guess what? You're pumping as good as you were on day one. There are no other wear parts with this system because we have that brushless motor. So you can refurb your pump in many years and be back pumping like you were. Yep. Sorry, one more question.
We have a great question before we move on to some of the splicing demonstrations from Preston. He's looking at our Pro Mid 1500 to irrigate a commercial hazelnut orchard. What is the longest system you currently have in use?
The longest RPS system is about 10 years old at this point. And they reached out the other day.
Might be like distance. for this distance?
Oh, I don't know.
Systems?
Well, either way, longest in use, over a decade at this point, of our solar pumps in use every day, pumping water across the United States. We had one of the early customers reach out the other day. He was just checking in to say everything's still running great. We love to hear that. As for pumping distance, that gets into sizing. So when we get into sizing, we have a bunch of YouTube videos that walk you through the whole sizing process. The other thing we have with sizing is a whole pump sizing team, and all they do every single day is size solar pumps. So they would love to help you out in order to get the exact applications and specifics down. But in general, we're looking for two things, or a couple of things, when we're sizing a pump. We want to know how much vertical head we have to lift. We want to know flow rates that you're looking for. And then I think possibly in your situation, you might be talking about also horizontal runs. And so with those items, we'll be able to calculate what's called total dynamic pumping head. So that's when the pump is operating, how much pressure does it need to generate in order to achieve all of that for your application. So it sounds complex. Once you go through it the first time, it's super simple. And so we'll take those factors in and run with it and help design the system for you. As for how far I've heard, I know I've heard of a 5-mile run with one of these smaller pumps. So they got it to the surface. It was maybe 100 feet to the surface. And then I think it was like a 1.25 inch or 2-inch line. And they ran that around the entire ranch, 5 miles. Now, you got to be ready to, you got to fill that line up. It takes a little while when you first fire it up, but they were happy with the performance. Everything was running great. So to really answer your question, what I've heard is 5 miles, but we'd love if you have further to beat that record.
Look, he clarified he meant longevity, but we got that out of
Oh, awesome. I got them both out of the way. Creston, California. Love Creston. That's where my family is originally from. And my uncle is installing one of these solar pumps, or actually an AC pump, this weekend. So Creston, California. Great. Solar extension wire. We'll jump into solar panels in a second, but we have our 4 solar panels here. We'll use this 20-foot wire to go from the solar panels to the input of our controller here. You'll see these are industry standard MC4 connectors. That makes all of those connections plug and play. So this entire system is mostly plug and play. The only thing you're going to have to get in and get your hands dirty with a little splicing and a little wiring is with our splice connection for our drop wire, which goes in the end of the pump. We'll chat about that in just 1 second. Solar wire, this comes in standard 20-foot lengths. We have this up to 200-foot lengths. So if you need something different, just let us know, and we'll get that over to you. Really good stuff we have in here. We have our accessory kit. Our accessory kit comes with electrical tape, comes with Teflon tape. Like I said, everything's included besides those 3 items all the way up to the wellhead. So that includes electrical tape, includes the Teflon tape. If you're installing a ground rod, it comes with your ground wire and your ground clamp here, along with a ground lug to install as you mount this controller, whether you're mounting on a pipe or a flat wall. Got all the accessories here. A couple of different splice kits, a very small splice kit with 4+ connections. This one is if you happen to need to add a splice to your sensor. So if you need to run either your tank full sensor or your well low sensor, you can use this splice kit to extend out the wire. Maybe a common question might be similar to the last one from Creston is, with that tank full sensor, how far can we go? And the answer is basically as far as you want to run a wire. It's a signal wire. We've had people run those about 2,000 feet. They trenched it underground and ran that sensor all the way up to a tank on a far hill. We got feedback from our customers that not everybody loved that experience. And so we did develop a wireless system. So now when you have those long runs, we find when you got to trench past maybe 100, 200 feet, it pays for itself to use that wireless system. So we can wirelessly communicate tank status back to our controller. We have the spin sensors here if we need them. What I should mention is you'll see some shrink tubing in these. You get a close-up of that. All of the shrink tubing in this kit is adhesive line shrink tubing made to go underwater. That's one of the concerns is, hey, I'm doing a splice. I don't want it, I'm worried about it going underwater. Something weird going to happen. Is it going to corrode? Is it going to degrade? And if you just heat these up nicely, what happens is as they squeeze down, there's essentially a hot melt glue inside of them. And that squeezes out the end, gets all the air out, and creates a waterproof connection. We'll look at this a little bit more when we do a little sample of how we would do a splice. One of the reasons we focus on the splice here is our feedback is that's the most challenging part of the install. So if you've actually ever done a splice before, you're ahead of the game and already are prepared for the most difficult part. But once people do it, a little worried about the beginning, they find it super easy to complete. I talked about this a little bit earlier, won't go into too many details. This is our top of pole or our wall mount bracket if you're mounting to either a round post, a square post, or if you create something else to mount onto. We have our hose clamps here, our bracket that goes in the back. It allows you to mount to whatever you want to do, self-drilling screws. If you need to go into wood, if you need to go to metal, with these self-drilling screws, you can get into those, quickly mount your controller. Hose barb kit here. Quickly about our hose barb. We have a 3/4 inch female NPT outlet. This is the 3/4 inch to 3/4 inch barb. And that just screws right in the end here. If you're not installing a check valve, then you just screw it right in. Our poly pipe is going to go over that. And then we have 2 stainless steel hose clamps to hose clamp right on the top there. Super easy to do. Poly pipe makes these installs so easy. You'll see in a second by myself. This is around over here. It's a 60-foot well. We're going to go around 30 feet down. Makes it by yourself. You can drop one of these down in a weekend. So we would take our poly pipe, hose clamp it right on the top here. Last but not least, and probably my favorite part of this system is our user manual. This is a 36-page color user manual. We've updated it, added tons of information. Every time we get a customer question, we try to get it in here just to optimize your experience and ease of installing one of these pumps. It walks you through every aspect of the install. What we got here, our pledge to you. This is what we're committing to you, the customer, of how we're going to make sure and we're going to stand by you until you get the system installed and until you get it up and running and pumping water. If you don't, you can have your money back. That's almost never happens. Everybody, with our help sometimes, is able to get these systems up and running and pumping. And we walk you through the planning phases. We walk you through what comes in your kit and all the various steps and considerations when installing one of these pumps. It's a great resource. This is one of about 3 different resources we do. We have the user manual with all the information. We have the YouTube videos that walk you through all of the steps of the installation. So if you're a visual learner, you can see a lot of the times myself going through those steps. We have our DIY Success Center. So that's an online resource. You can log in, has frequently asked questions, it has troubleshooting tips, everything needed to get running. The last one of those is we have our awesome support team. It's divided into 2 sections. We have customer success. They're the first stage. They're going to help answer those questions and probably get you up and running just by pointing in the right direction. If that doesn't work and you need a little bit more help, we have our technical support team. They are great at over the phone walking you through step by step what to check in order to troubleshoot. Maybe we got a wire crossed, maybe something's not connected right. They'll walk you through and stick with you as long as you need in order to get these systems running. Oh, another question here.
Great question from Jeffrey sort of on this. Is it possible to get a PDF of that to go over before the purchase to help our decision making? Is this something that sales or support can hook them up with?
Yeah, talk to sales or support if you need one of these before your installation. A lot of the times we can send a PDF. Some of the times I think this one comes pre-printed from us. And we like to send you a physical copy of just how that 36-page color is. It works so much better in color. We can get that off to you if you need one in order to check out in advance. But also on those regards, the YouTube video is great for walking through that step by step. And the user manual is great, but also you get a little bit more insight of how we do things and why we do things. All right. If you don't have any other questions, let's jump in to unboxing real quick of the Turnkey kit. This is everything I went over before. Comes with, say, the RPS 200, the RPS 400, 600, 800 kit. That's what the base kit comes with. And then we have our add-on Turnkey kit. One of the super common questions is, why don't you just put it all together in a single kit? And that's because we want to allow the flexibility based on what you want in order to install. Some people already have pipe, they already have wire. They don't want to buy that because they already have it. And so they can go with the base kit. Same with solar panel mounting. The base comes with just the solar panels. the 4 solar panels. A lot of people like to install those themselves. They'll pull out the welder, make it a weekend project with a buddy, and weld up a mount. But also some people don't want to do that. And so that's why we have on our add-on mount kits. And then we also have the turnkey kit, which comes with the mount kit. So we've tried to make this as flexible as possible for you. So you can start with the kit and build upon it the pipe, the wire, or just the solar panel mounting. Build upon it so you get the system you want versus a one-size-fits-all, like take it all and have to remove later. So let's jump in. Nice blue wrapping. Got some RPS blue here. And we wrap this up so we can ship it by UPS because all the goodies are inside and we don't want to lose them along the way. All right, let's see if we can. Very secure wrapping. Very secure wrapping. A lot of this wrap for UPS. We see very little damage when it arrives, but again, if anything happens, don't worry about it. We have you covered. We have our customer success team. Anything gets damaged, they'll ship out a replacement part and get you up and running right away. So a couple items we first see in here. We have our 3/4 inch poly pipe. This is 100-foot lengths. This comes up to 300-foot lengths, and we're adding on very soon 400 and 500-foot lengths. So if you need one of those, check back soon. In the upcoming weeks, we're gonna get up to the 500-foot range for dropping these pumps down. And we also have our submersible pump wire here. This is dual jacketed submersible pump wire. We have our inside wires. In this case, this is a 3-wire pump. So we have 3-wire drop wire. We also have some with 4-wire. And then it has the outside jacket for superior abrasion protection. So it's a harsh environment, it's down a well. You'll see as I drop this down by myself, I might scrape it up a little bit as I'm going down, but you don't have to worry about it with this dual jacketed wire as much. It has that outside jacket and the inside jacket for redundancy and insulation. Okay, our box in here, some of our accessories. Nice, right on the top here, we have our safety rope. This is a yellow poly rope. This is, we encourage the installation of it, but it is optional. This is in case the pipe breaks, you're gonna have another way to pull up that pump. A majority, all the weight is gonna hang on the pipe when it's down the well. And as you lower it, you're gonna lower it down with the pipe. But this is just backup in case we run into any issues, you can pull it up. But it is optional. Some people choose to install it, some people don't. When I do an installation, I usually include that. Great. In this case, there's a 100-foot sensor here because this is a 100-foot turnkey kit. You saw the duplicate over there. If this is a 200 or 300-foot turnkey kit, this would be a 200 or 3-foot, 100-foot low well sensor. Great, stainless steel fittings. You'll see a common theme here is stainless steel. We use only the highest quality components, so almost everything here is stainless steel that you're seeing. This is the through fittings for the well seal. I'm not gonna go show how this goes to the well seal. I just have one completed over here. Bring it back this way. So it's all built up through here. Since this is a 4-inch well, we have a 4-inch well casing at the top here. But you might notice, you might not have seen a well seal like this. To the best of our knowledge, this is the only stainless steel well seal in existence. We developed this last year because, again, we love the stainless steel. Other ones are cast iron or plastic. If you're me, for me, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to use the stainless steel for years of lifetime. And on the bottom, we have where the pipe is connecting. I think this is a 1-inch. 1-inch is a little longer because we need those for the further installations, like say 500. So that's an extended barb. The normal barb is a little bit shorter, but it still is great for holding that poly pipe with all that weight. We've never seen one of these slip off in our entire existence at RPS. And so you get those 2 hose clamps on there with the 3/4 inch barb. It's going to sit there, hold all the weight for years and years. All right, so that is the overview of the components. I think we're going to jump in here real quick into what we would need to do for installation. I'll go quickly over the tools, and then we'll talk through some of the key steps there, And then we're actually going to go live here, drop that pump down, and show you pumping some water, which is the actual fun part of solar pumping. Cool. So a bunch of tools laid out here, nothing special. We didn't want to use special tools like say we have out in the shop. We wanted to just grab them from a toolbox because this is kind of the assortment that you'll need. And you notice it's not much. These are all plug and play, very easy to install. We have some channel locks, pipe wrenches over here to make some of these connections. We want to Teflon tape these, make them all tight. Needle nose, pliers, probably won't use those today. Those could be handy if you need to get into a real tight space with some of this wiring. The key is the wire stripper and crimper. A lot of these have built-in crimping down here. That's what I'll use today. If you have a more specialized crimping tool, even better. You'll see, to make it as easy as possible on this side, the pump side, we pre-splice these along with labels. And so this is spliced using our pneumatic tool, but the hand tool works just as well. And we can pull on them. They're not going anywhere. So don't be shy. As you're doing these splices, you can give them a reasonable tug on there. Make sure they're on there and not going to fall off. And our pump wires are labeled. Black is 1, blue is 2, brown is 3. Wire order is important because with a brushless motor, if we swap any of those, that pump's going to run backwards. Not the end of the world. Sometimes if you run one of these helical pumps backwards, you're going to have to pull the pump up, thread back on that helical mechanism, and get it running again. But if you do the bucket test, you're going to make sure at the surface it's running the right direction. You won't have to worry about that. What are the tools? We had with our kit now, we're coming with the Teflon tape, electrical tape. You don't have to supply that. And the only other item is either a small butane torch, propane torch, a heat gun if you're doing this in your garage. Sometimes if I'm going out to install, I love night before in the garage or the shop, get all this prepared, kind of get my critical parts done, get the splice done, get all the plumbing done, and then drive out to the field and not have to worry about doing like the shrink tube out there. But most of our customers end up doing it on the field anyways. So let's give a quick overview of this crimp connection. So the wire colors, depending on your wire, won't always match up with the right color. So here we have a brown, a black, a blue, and here we have a red, a yellow, and a black. I'm going to match up the brown and the red. Then I'm going to use the yellow for the blue. It makes sense in my brain. So we'll match these up. And you'll notice from us, the factory, these are already tapered, or staggered, I should say. And so what that results in is the splices, to a certain degree, don't overlap. They can overlap a little bit, but what we don't want is all the splices in one big bulge so we can't get our shrink tubing over. As we stagger them, you'll see it fits on real nicely. So maybe off camera a little bit, I will quickly get some of this splicing ready. I'm just matching up the wires. I'm gonna splice. I'm gonna cut this first one and get the right length here. Just take it one step at a time. You'll see you can get them all matched up. We're gonna get our black one right about there. This isn't my first rodeo, so feel free to take your time to get all these matched up nicely. Those. I'm gonna cut my last one right there. All right. Okay, based on the wire colors I did approximately the right lengths. At this point, 100 feet away, I'd have my other side. What we always recommend to do on this other side is I'm going to take these labels provided with the kit. A lot of people skip this step, but it's one of the most important if you don't want to be pulling your pump up later if you got the wire colors backwards. But I'm going to do, if I'm doing black is 1, going to my other side, I'm going to take the 1 sticker and throw it on black is 1. I'll tell you, I can't tell you the number of times I myself or somebody's called in and said, I didn't write down, I didn't use the stickers because I was going to remember, but I think I might have got them backwards. We're going to do red as 3. And we got our 2 sticker here on yellow. 2 sticker on yellow. Great. a super simple step, one of the most critical. I'll jump ahead here. I'm not going to do the full splice right now. We have detailed splicing videos. I'm going to show you one of the crimps, and I'm going to do a little bit of a splice on the overall outside, but not the full thing today. It just takes a little longer than we have. Our splice kit here. This is our outside shrink tubing. Use that in 1 second. Sometimes, a lot of times we have extra splices just in case anything happens and you cut over and start clean. You can do that. And then we have our inside splicing here, our inside shrink tubing. Two things with this. I've done it plenty of times. Make sure you slide the big one over before we start crimping. You slide it over after you start crimping. You got to work the 100 feet, 200 feet, all the way back over here. So slide this one on. This one you don't really have an option for. You got to get this slid on in advance before we do that crimp. So let's show you one crimp here. We'll do the red one. That wire in there. Nice and hard. Don't be shy. Ugh. I think double crimp. These are long crimps. Don't rely on just one. You can get another one on there. Ugh. There we go. 2 crimps. Like I said, give it a pull there. Not coming off. Don't be shy. If you're gonna pull it apart, you want to pull it apart up at the surface here. We got the backup crimps. You can usually get the wire back in and really give it another squeeze there, get it on. At this point, I'll either shrink this down, or I would probably, in this case, just do the other crimps. I don't have time for that, so we're going to jump over. I'll show you the shrink tubing process here real quick. Got our heat gun out, or our torch. If we're using a torch, keep the movement going. We'll go. We got a little bit of a breeze. But you'll see it's shrinking right up. Get a little hot, you can see that the insulation start to bubble a little bit. Back off, keep moving a little bit. It's okay if you get a little bit of char on there, but not too much. All the sides here. We're going to heat all the sides of that shrink tubing and that heat, or the hot melt glue inside, and get it shrunk down. All right, I don't know if we can see on the camera. When I went until I started seeing a little bit of adhesive there. I'd probably go a little bit more. Oh, got a little hot there. I go a little tiny bit more. That's fine. You don't want to go past that. I'm at kind of a little bit of rush here, so I probably wouldn't go that much and move it a little bit more, take a little time. But you'll see a little tiny bit of hot melt glue squeezed at the top. That's what you want to see. Perfectly waterproof. We're gonna be good to go. I'd crimp the rest of these, and then I put the big one over. Again, this is our dual layer of insulation and protection, both for abrasion and electrical. Not sure I'll have time to do this whole thing. It takes a little bit to do it right, but slowly we'll heat this up. You'll see I like to start at one side here. Just slowly work my way down. Takes a couple minutes to get that nicely melted and get a little, without charring, a little bit of that hot melt glue squeezing out. Great, as you're doing this, any questions? Any other ones that are popping up?
Yeah, we got a few.
Oh, awesome.
From Thomas, what is the low well switch? Float, transducer, or other? Can it be used for sensing level in the well?
A great question there. We get that quite a bit. So the low well sensor, it senses moisture. And so it's a stainless steel, no moving parts inside of it. I'll pull one up in a sec. No moving parts inside of it. And so it just sits there, and when it senses moisture and it's submerged, then it sends that signal back to the controller. The controller itself senses that and shuts it off. That also can just be an open closed input. So on the tank full, it's very common, if you don't want to use the stainless steel sensor, you can use a float. You might be used to that on like an AC pump, so you can use a flow in the tank. That provides a little bit of throw. If you want to drain the tank a little bit before you start filling it up. Our systems don't require that. I didn't mention earlier, these all have soft start and soft shutdown. So what that means is when the system starts up, it's just going to slowly ramp the motor up to full speed. And when it needs to shut down, whether it's getting later in the day, tank full, well low activates, then it's going to slowly ramp the speed of the motor back down. And the benefit of that is really on wear and tear of the system. So if you've ever seen a large motor start, even a small, like high power motor start, especially well pumps, when you hit it with that AC jolt, there's the inrush current, and then there is that torque. It just, the whole pump kind of jars a little bit. It sends like a pulse of that jar up the drop pipe, and it just causes wear and tear on the system, abrasion of your drop pipe, abrasion of your wire. And that's with AC pumps, one of the most common reasons for failure. Also, that AC current surge is not great for the motor. So if you've seen a lot of AC pumps, they're rated for number of starts per hour. And it's not very high usually. Usually it's like 6 to 8 starts per hour that the manufacturer is saying you shouldn't go past. Now, a lot of people do. I have without issues, but all of that just shortens the life of the pump there. With these are soft start, so it ramps up, ramps down. So there are no limits on stops per hour. We could do 60 stops every 1 minute if we wanted. We could start and stop this pump without additional wear. So, but to finalize that question is yes, this is sensing the moisture, but the inputs also work with a float. Great. I couldn't get all this done. We got to move on here. You can see I just keep working my way down, finish this splice. This is the hardest part of the installation. And you can see right here with like going quick one hand, I got it most of the way done. If you take your time, it'll end up a great splice without any issues. Well, let me just show you really quick, that stainless steel sensor. There's a little cathode and anode. All that's just fancy words for a little piece of stainless steel inside, a little piece of stainless steel outside. The wires run up this. It's a signal. There's very little, essentially no current flow, just enough to sense whether this thing's in water. Solid state, no moving parts. These just last years and years and years. We don't have switch failures or float failures with these. Awesome. What are we moving on next? Any questions coming up? Great. All right. One part you haven't seen yet, which is a little funny for a solar pump system, are the solar panels. Let's see if we can make our way around here. We're going to go live with this or mobile with this and show you what's over here. And this is our 8-panel top of pole adjustable mount. I'm a little biased. I think this is the nicest top of pole mount available. It has our stainless steel brackets on the side. It's fully adjustable. You loosen 4 bolts and you can adjust the seasonal angle of this mount. We can't see it on the other side. On the other side, there's even the angle numbers from 0 to 90. And so in our user manual, it's going to tell you based on your latitude, whether you just want to set the panels year round at a certain angle facing south, or whether you want to do seasonal adjustments to maximize water production. With 2 seasonal adjustments, you can get around 25% water or more water throughout the year. In winter, when the sun is lower, we're going to go a little steeper. In summer, when the sun's up overhead, we're going to go a little bit more towards the sky. But this makes it so easy to adjust. 4 bolts, you can adjust it. This is our 8-panel mount. Like I mentioned, we're using this with the RPS400 today. And so we're going to just use this row of 4 panels. If you get a 4-panel mount, this row is just going to be centered over here, and you're not going to have the 2 set side by side. And so with the RPS400, we have our 4 panels. In this particular case, we've got that user manual. We are going to wire all of the panels in series. Oh, sorry, in front. We're going to wire all those panels in series. And that's all shown here in the user manual. So if we have 2 panels, there's going to be wired 2 in series. If we have 4 panels, we're going to wire 4 in series. If we get up to our 6-panel, 8-panel, then we're going to add in parallel options to provide more current to really run that pump. RPS 800, which is the panels we have here, would be 4 in series, 4 in series. And if you have that configuration, you're going to get these Y connectors, which make it plug and play, no splicing required to get those panels in parallel. Today, we're just using the 4. I pre-wired them. We have positive to negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, all the way up. If you work your way up, you'll see these connectors are polarized. And so you can only plug them in one way. If you just work your way down, you're going to end up with 2 connectors that we're going to go into our wire. Got our wire here. This is our 20-foot wire that we're going to run from the solar panels over to our controller. I pre-ran it earlier today, so we can go a little quick here. And just like that, we have one of them in. I work my way over here. get the other one plugged in. I mean, it's that easy to get our solar panels up and running. Click them all together, run them into our 20-foot extension wire that heads into our controller. I think maybe we'll jump down to the well level. Maybe I've got this all laid out, pre-wired. This is one of our test wells we have in the area. We can test all our new products, all our existing products, make sure everything's operating great. Our hinge controller door, this is a new feature over the last couple of years. We got feedback from the customers that the door is flopping around. We added the hinges on based on everybody's feedback. I'm not going to show this, but if we took our wire here, I planned ahead. I used the stickers. I got 1, 2 wire, but I'm going to connect R1, R2, R3 after I strip back the insulation. This would all run up through this waterproof, water-resistant grommet here at the bottom. So I got that pre-hooked up. I also pre-hooked up our well low sensor here. It's running up through there. And I also pre-hooked up our tank full. That's just to show you that's actually running back into the tank. Most of the time we were using this system, this is feeding our tank. And then we have drip lines that go out to our garden over here, our company garden that everybody on the team enjoys throughout the summer. So we practice what we preach. We like to water the garden off of solar with the products that we're supplying to everybody across the USA. Great. So I got this all hooked up. Poly pipe comes in this roll. It can get a little tight in there if it's sitting for a little bit after the production process. So I like to lay that out, get it extended. At first it'll be all coiled, but as the sun warms it up, it's going to get a lot more flexible. It's just going to be easier to work with. But don't worry about it if you didn't do that. You can just kind of get it down there either way. Not going to be a big deal, especially if you're installing in winter. It's going to be a cold pipe. Might need an extra set of hands, but you can get that down the well. Great. We put a well cap on here just as we had this off. Didn't want any debris falling down our well. Cool. I'm going to close this up just as I do the install. I don't want to hit that with anything as I get everything done. All right, so off to the side here, I have one of our pumps. This is actually our centrifugal style that we had ready for this demonstration. So this is very similar, 4-panel pump kit, but instead of the helical, this is centrifugal. Won't do as much pumping head. This one will only do around, say, like 80, 120 feet of pumping head, but it's going to do more gallons per minute. This one will do around 12 to 14 gallons a minute versus the other one. Our safety ropes laid out, our wires all spliced. I have our low well sensor here attached, all taped up with that provided electrical tape. And basically, we're going to give it a shot. Single-handedly, I'll get this down. I did bring, in this case, a little cloth. I like to use a rag a lot of times. Sit in the dirt, get this cleaned up, especially if there's a drinking well. You don't have to be super sanitary, but I do like to get all the dirt and debris off of it. All right, let's give this a shot. Get it down. I've installed pumps by myself down to, I think it was 230 feet. Now that's probably about as far as I want to go by myself. I had a little hoist there with an A-frame, and it wasn't too bad. Most of the time, it's more fun. You bring a buddy out, bring an uncle, bring a couple friends out, and make a weekend or an afternoon on it. This is a really fun project. It's not something you get to do every day. You can go out with the friends, do the install, get it all running. Oh, I've got the end here. I'll pre-wire it up. Oh, almost lost that. Should tie it off. I'll tie this off later. Right here, you see, it's about 30-something feet. I'm not too heavy. Also, once you hit that water, it helps with the weight there. That nice stainless steel well seal down here. Everything down on the well. I'm ready to go. Before we fire this up, any other questions pop up?
Yes, one from West Johnston.
Oh, nice.
Supplying the pump with larger panels, can we connect two pump controllers to one large set of panels? For example, a lift pump and a booster.
You can. In general, we probably don't recommend it because they can kind of fight with each other, and it might be a challenge to prioritize in lower power settings which one is getting the power. So the most common is with multiple pump installations. You do have separate solar arrays to drive each pump. Some of these systems where we're doing multiple pumps, a lot of times we're pumping out of a well into a tank and then out of the tank into a pressurized system. People want batteries, so sometimes we'll share a battery bank. But that's a great question in that we can kind of work through those exact details as we go for those cases.
And one more before we fire this up from
Nice.
Thomas Hammond. How well does your system perform in foggy areas? Do you have any solar radiation diagrams for different regions in California?
Yeah, great question. So the answer is, like all great answers, it depends. In deep fog, no, they're not going to work that great. So what I like to say, it's a nice hot day out here. It's actually reaching 100 today. And so I can, outside, I can feel that heat on my arm. That's energy coming from the sun. I can feel with heat. And that's what the solar panels are converting into energy. And when you get a cloud, like a really cloudy day or overcast day, if you're not feeling any heat on your arm, unfortunately, there's just no power there for the solar panels to convert. And so you are going to need some sunny days. And so those are areas where if you do have some sunny days and some cloudy days, we either recommend putting a large storage tank so you can fill that up on the non-overcast or cloudy days, or those are cases where we do recommend a battery bank. So we'd add the battery bank on, and on those sunny days, we can charge that battery bank and save that pumping time for those cloudy days. We also have an AC backup option. That's a converter. So some of our systems take AC natively. This one does require a converter, but it does take then, you can plug it in a 110 outlet, or they now have those little portable power stations. We have customers on cloudy days or overcast days where they still need to fill up a tank. They can bring one of those out, power it up, and fire up their pump to fill up on those as backup options if we just don't have enough sun. Nice. Any others? We're jump in and see how we go.
Let's fire it up and then we'll see how much time we have left.
All right, it's always a little painstaking doing the final fire up here. Oh, I think we got power. I can see the pump light turning on. Pump light turns on for a couple seconds. In a second, we'll see the pump light turn on. Gonna take a little bit for that water to rise up in the well. Oh, we got our pump light. Usually you can start to hear the pump ramp up. It takes a couple of seconds to ramp up, anywhere from like 10 to 30 seconds. Oh, and there we go. We've got that pump pumping water out of a well. It's a little shallower. This one's around 26 feet deep last time I measured. All without utility power, all without generators. Out in the middle of the fields here of Northern California, where there's no power nearby, pumping water with the power of the sun. If that sun is shining, it's going to be pumping water 365 days a year if you're in a sunny place like us, producing all of that water you need, whether it's for livestock, filling up your pond, household, pressure system, drip irrigation, or just a small little garden like we have back over here behind us. Great. Cool. I think at this point, we're going to start wrapping things up. We'll leave a little bit of time at the end if any final questions come up, but I'm going to shut this off. And we'll head back over here for any final questions we have.
We have another one from Tim Word. I have an existing tank with float switch already installed. Does your tank full signal on your controller use a standard normally open or normally closed set of contacts?
Wow, great question. That's a guy who knows a little bit about pumping and actually knows that's a question to answer. So for our tank full inputs, they are reversed from a standard AC pump. So an AC pump, when those contacts are closed, that's sending power to the pump and it's causing that pump to operate. With this solar pump, they are active open. And so when that sensor's open, the tank full sensor we're seeing here is not sensing any water. So when it's open, the pump is running, and when we shut that down, the pump is closing. The good thing is a lot of the paddle floats, they have 3 wires, at least the ones we send out and can offer do. And so those have both the active open and active closed contacts. If you're using a pressure switch, we have reverse action pressure switches. They operate in the exact opposite way. So when they want the pump to run, that pressure switch is open, and when they want the pump to shut off, that pressure switch closes.
Another good question from Chris. Chris asked, when would you need a ground rod at the pump?
So we do recommend a ground rod on all the installations, but we know customers don't do a ground rod on all the installations. Fine with us. A lot of times local code is going to require a ground rod. If you're in a lightning prone area, West Virginia, Texas, Georgia, any place that gets a lot of lightning, we definitely recommend a really good ground rod. Get it nice and deep, ground everything, ground the controller, ground the post, get everything grounded. It just really helps protect your system from lightning in case of a storm.
Yeah, from Jason. Can you use panels from a home panel system instead of having a separately divided panel system?
Kind of. So if you have plenty of power from your system, then those are going to be the rare cases when maybe an AC pump, or we actually have some energy efficient AC pumps, might be a better case. But if you have household panels available that you're not using on your house, you can absolutely use those for these systems. Like I said, we like to provide these kits as building blocks. And so if you already have solar panels, we can supply just the pump and any other parts you need to get you up and running, so you can reuse solar panels that you may take off of a house or had left over from another project. But for sharing it, a lot of those household systems, they're either microinverters or they're high voltage, and that's just not going to be compatible with this. But if you like one of these pumps, like this small size need a 3-inch pump, we do have that AC converter, so you can just plug that into your household power, convert it, and never even hook solar up to one of these systems if you just want to run off your household power that's already being generated.
Great, and I think we have time for one more question from Preston K. Great demo with your customer support team. What is the most common problems they have to help folks with after install? Common failure points, etc. Looking for more in terms of longevity of equipment.
Absolutely. I'll touch on that on multiple points. Most common problem, and I'm very sympathetic to it, is you go out Saturday morning, you work all day with your buddies, you get it all installed, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock rolls around, you flip it on, no water. Unfortunately, it just took a little bit too long, so we tell them, hey, come back tomorrow morning, redo it around 10, 11 o'clock, make sure you have nice, good sun, and try it again. That's our most common issue we have with these systems. Second most common is, as you saw me do those MC4 connectors, sometimes you don't get those fully seated, not fully clipped together, and they just aren't making connections. So it's like, oh no, not getting any power to my pump. If you have a multimeter, we can check that out real quick. A lot of times you just redo all those connections, everything starts running. Basically, it's small little installation problems. The pump wire backwards, as I mentioned earlier, a common issue during setup. Longevity-wise, not a lot here. This is a mechanical product. We design it for 10 plus years of life, but things happen. And with that, we offer our instant replacement 2-year warranty. And so with that instant replacement, within the first 2 years, if anything goes wrong, we'll send you out the part you need because we understand the importance of water. So unlike other products and other, like, say, a cell phone, you don't have to send that back and then wait to get it repaired and sent back to us. We'll send the replacement, whether it's just a small part, a screw, some wire, or even the whole pump assembly. You get it, install it, and then when you have a second, with the prepaid return label, just send that back to us. Past the 2 years, not super common, but if anything happens, we do have replacement warranty parts available. We always try to help you out and do our best for what we can past the warranty period. We like selling the pumps. The warranty is a service we provide for you, the customer. So
running close to the wire, but I think we can get a few in rapid fire. I just want to reiterate that anybody who drops their questions into the Q&A box will be reaching out to you next week with a more detailed answer.
So if we missed your question, like Brendan's saying, one of our pump sizing team, even if we got to your question, one of our pump sizing team is just going to reiterate that and see if you have any others. So drop it in there if you have any more. If we don't get to it, we'll get back to you.
So rapid fire run. Can it run off a generator?
It can the systems can run off of an AC generator. Absolutely, we need that converter box for this systems. Our Pro systems on 240-volt generators can run directly, and then your pump sizer can answer if you're looking for any of our fountains, our booster pumps, any of those, whether they can do it natively or whether they need the adapter box. But all of our systems can run off of AC power or a generator. We don't love the generator, to be honest, but we'll definitely support it.
Can you address a question from Leila? Can you address how far you can pump from the well uphill?
Yeah, great question. So when we're looking at that total pumping head, we're going to add up a couple of things. One is we're going to add up the vertical lift from the surface of the water up and out of the well. If you have a high producing well, it doesn't matter where you set the pump in the well to get that pumping head. What matters is how much from the surface of the water that pump needs to overcome, how much pressure it needs to generate to get it up and out. Once we get up there, we're going to ask the same question again. From our wellhead, where do we need to go up to? In this case, it's about like 6.5 feet up here. In other cases, especially in gravity feed systems, we might pump an extra like 80, even 200 feet up. And so we're going to take that into account because this pump needs to pump out of the well and then up the vertical distance up to that tank. What doesn't really matter is the horizontal distance. So if that vertical is also, say, a 1/4 mile horizontal, it has very little effect unless we're doing high flow rates.
But most of our pumps can handle our bigger pumps can handle about 1,200 feet vertical lift. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So these smaller systems, we're going to go up to 300, 350 foot of lift. And then when we get to our Pro systems, we can go up to around 1,200, 1,400 feet of lift. So basically, if you have whatever lift we're going to be able to accomplish, if we can't accomplish it with a single pump, we can get you 2 pumps. We can do a stage pumping, go halfway up the hill, and then pump another 1,000 feet up the hill. We've done that plenty of times before.
All right, time for one more from Tim. What is the DC voltage?
The DC voltage. A lot of these systems are the voltage is legacy off of like a 12 volt, a 24 volt, a 48 volt. They're kind of all like the nomenclature is built on 12 volt battery banks. With these direct drive systems, we've used some of that same terminology to keep things simple, but we will run at a higher voltage. So all of the voltage of this system is less than 100 volts, which makes it very safe for using and wiring with DC. Basically, no worries about it. It's very hard to get shocked with anything less than 100 volts DC. When you go to our Pro systems, then we'll go up to higher voltage. Those could go anywhere up to 350, 400 volts. Those we want to be a little bit more careful with. There's a little more precautions in the manual that we talk about covering the solar panels before we do some of the wiring. So sometimes we will use 24 volt, 48 volt. If we're adding batteries to the system. So the RPS400, depending on your exact application, we could do a 24 volt battery bank. If that's providing enough power, that'd be 2 12 volt lead acid batteries, or we could do a 48 volt battery bank with 4 batteries in series. If we're doing higher pumping heads, we'll probably recommend the 4 batteries. If we're doing lower pumping heads, we might recommend the 2 batteries. But with this 400, most commons about 4 panels or 4 batteries in series for a 48 volt system. When we're direct drive, we're actually running higher. With those 4 panels in series, we're running around 88 volts. And it all doesn't matter because, like I said, that controller just takes whatever power is coming and drives the pump at the maximum speed it can. Great. Do we have time? One more question or?
I guess we have time for another quick one. If anybody can get one in.
If not, like we mentioned, throw it in that Q&A box until we log off of here. And if it comes in, we're going to get your reply. You know, I hope you enjoyed today. This is the first of the virtual webinar series we've done. We've actually done virtual field days. We've actually done some on-site field days across the United States. We're planning more of those. So if you are interested in hosting one of the field days, reach out to us. We'd love to set one of those up because some people love just to touch those items. It makes it a whole different experience when you can actually, you feel the heft and the weight of this pump. And so if you're interested, if you're an existing customer and interested in doing one of those, reach out to us either through an email or the question and answer box when we get into contact with you and see if that works. But for everybody who doesn't have a local field day, we have these virtual field days. So thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. We all here at RPS appreciate it. Here at RPS, we are passionate about DIY solar pumping, getting these kits and systems, making them super easy to use, creating these detailed user manuals, helping size these systems, figure out what's going to work for you, and getting them out into your hands. But we don't stop there. And we have our dedicated success team and our dedicated technical support team who day in and day out answer questions, help set up, walk people through how to install and keep these systems running. So appreciate you joining. If you're interested, shoot us in the Q&A. Our phone number is 888-637-4493. And we'll let you know about the next time we do one of these. I'm thinking maybe like do the Pro system, a nice big pump later on. But we'll figure out what you guys want to see and get our next virtual field day set up. This is Mike with RPS Solar Pumps. Thank you very much for joining us and sticking along as we walk through all of the various components of this RPS 400 system. See ya.